Hello, good day everyone. So our topic for today is all about Aristotle's social and political philosophy. Okay, so kung natatandaan niyo pa, si Aristotle ay isang Greek philosopher. Isa siyang mag-aaral ni Plato at ang guro ni dakilang Alexander the Great. Okay, so kasama ni Plato, itinuturing siya na pinaka-maimpluwensyang philosopher. Okay, so during the later Middle Ages, he was referred to as the master, most notably in Dante's Inferno, where the author did not need to even identify Aristotle by name for him to be recognized. Okay, so he is traditionally linked in a sequence with Socrates and Plato in the triad of the three greatest Greek philosophers of all time. Okay, so naging paksa niya rin ang edukasyon, mga banyagang kaugalian, mga panitikan, panulaan, at masasabing bumubuo ang kanyang mga pinagsamang mga akda ng isang encyclopedia ng sinaunang Griegong kaalaman. Okay, so si Plato, he was the student of Socrates, and Aristotle studied under Plato. Okay, so the early life of Aristotle was born in Stagira, Greece, on the border of Macedonia. His father, Nicomachus, was the court physician to the Macedonian king and died when Aristotle was 10 years old. Okay, so his uncle was the guardian of the Aristotle and saw his education. Okay, so Aristotle probably spent time with the tutors at the Macedonian court as the son at the same time as the nephew of palace staff. But this not known with certainty. Okay, when he was 18, Aristotle was sent to Athens to study at Plato's Academy where he remained for the next 20 years. Okay, kung matatandaan niyo pa yung sinabi ko noon, ang Greece ay nahahati sa dalawa. Okay, yung metropolis wherein the Athens and the Spartans. Sa mga Athens kasi, they value education, they value freedom, okay, they value the welfare of the citizens. Okay? So may equality, may justice, may due process, okay? Unlike sa Spartans, that they are more in the military tactics. Okay? So Aristotle also was an exceptional student. Okay? He graduated early and was awarded a position on the faculty teaching the rhetoric and the dialogue. Okay? It appears that Aristotle thought he would take over the academy after Plato's death, and when that position was given to Plato's nephew, si Spicipius, okay, so Aristotle left the Athens to conduct the experiments and study on his own in the islands of the Greek archipelago. Okay? So nung umalis na si Aristotle sa Athens, most notably dun sa mga sinasabi niya, most famous line na sinasabi niya is, "Man is a political and social animal by nature." Okay? Why? Because we are guided and controlled by law. Okay? Bawat galaw mo may laws dyan. Okay? Pag nasa sinupupunan ka pa lang ng nanay mo, there is always a law. There is always rights doon. Okay, may karapatan ka na. So in his politics, Aristotle believed man was a political animal because he is a social creature with the power of speech and moral reasoning. Okay, so it is vividly evident that the state is a creation of nature and that man is by nature a political animal. Okay, so in this, the function of the state is to extricate man from crude natural condition in which he finds himself and to guide him into the civilized culture of an ethical and intellectual life. Okay, so ang sinasabi ni Aristotle na those laws, those rules are beneficial to all. Okay? Kasi kung wala yung mga laws, kung wala yung mga rules na yan, magkakaroon ng chaotic. Okay? Magkakaroon ng kaguluhan sa mundo. Okay, in order for us to be harmonious, okay, kinakailangan natin ng mga karapatan para may ma-follow tayo in order to have a meaningful life. Okay, and in order for us to be disciplined as an individual. Okay, so sinasabi ni Aristotle that Aristotle describes that the political animal as those among which there is someone and a common function for all. Okay, so from this description, it is clear that the pursuit of a single and shared goal is the central to a political way of life. Okay, so next is the goal of a state is good living or simply the good life. Okay, this is the characterized by life of happiness based upon the virtue, and the purpose of the state is that of ethical training for the benefit of its citizens. Okay, so dito is pumapasok na dito yung three powers. Okay, the police power, the eminent power, and the power of taxation. Okay, so kung wala tong three powers, what will happen to this world? Okay, dun sa police power, they are going to scrutinize what the Congress propose laws. Okay, so kung wala tong mga peacemaker na to, is walang mangyayari sa mundo. At saka kung wala ang power of taxation sa mundo, is wala din. Okay? Hindi iikot ang pondo natin. Okay? So the importance of the power of taxation is in the Philippines. Okay? Doon sa train law ni Duterte. Okay? Yung mga ibang tao kasi hindi nila naiintindihan yung train law, dahil ang train law is it goes with the three phases. Okay, yung phase 1 is yun na yung mga pagtaas ng mga sweetened goods. Okay, pagtaas ng mga presyo ng mga cigarettes, mga alak, and sweetened goods. Okay, so kapag nakakolect na sila ng mga taxes doon sa mga product, doon sa mga certain products na yun, is pupunta na sila doon sa phase 2, wherein the build program. Okay, they will make a road, okay? They will make a building, okay? Gagawa sila ng mga schools, and etc. Okay? So kapag after na nilang makapag-build ng mga infrastructures, they will go to the phase 3. Okay? Yung phase 3 na yun, it is the employment phase. Okay? So doon na yung papasok yung para ma-lessen natin yung number of unemployment rate dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, ganun ang plano ng train law na yun. At yun yung plano, at yun yung strategy ni Duterte in order to lessen yung numbers of unemployment rate dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, so that is the purpose, or that yun yung sinasabi ni Aristotle na to extricate man from the natural condition which finds himself, to guide himself into the civilized culture and for an ethical and intellectual life. Okay, so next is man is guided by recta ratio or right reason. Okay, so sinasabi niya na we are all rational thinker. Okay, kaya natin, nagagawa natin lahat ng solusyon ng lahat ng problema. Okay, so in order for that, use wisely, be a critical thinker. Okay? Next is we have the 6 forms of a government. Okay? Andyan yung Aristotle basic forms of government. Okay, one ruler is yung monarchy. Okay, explain natin later. Few rulers is yung aristocracy or republic. Many rulers is yung direct democracy. Okay, tyranny, one ruler also. Few rulers is oligarchy or plutocracy. Many rulers is yung anarchy. Okay, so first is the monarchy. So monarchy, it is the political system based upon the undivided sovereignty or rule of a single person. Okay, the term applies to the states in which supreme authority is vested in the monarch, and an individual ruler who functions as the head of the state, who achieve his or her position through heredity. Okay, so when you think a monarchy, you might think of a king or a queen ruling the roost. Okay, ruling the country. While monarchies where a monarch has the absolute power are still around, okay, most monarchs share power with the parliament or follow a constitution. Okay, so the head of the state is the king and the queen. Okay, the head of the nation is the prime minister. But who worked most was the Prime Minister. So anong trabaho nung King at saka ang trabaho nung Queen? Okay, they are just giving the monitoring. Okay, mino-monitor nila. Okay, they attended the international meeting, national meeting, mga ganyan. Pero ang nagtatrabaho talaga is yung Prime Minister. So taga-approve lang si King at saka si Queen kung anong mga batas na ipapasa ni Prime Minister, yung head of the nation. Okay, so monarchy is the oldest form of government in the United Kingdom. So in a monarchy, a king or a queen is the head of state. Okay, the Prime Minister is the one who runs the government and the one who works the most. Okay, the only role of a king or a queen is to monitor and approve legislation of the Prime Minister, as well as to attend national conferences and the international meetings. Okay, so as a head of state, the monarch undertakes the constitutional and representational duties which he have developed over 1,000 years of history. Okay, so in addition to this duty, state's duties, the monarch has a less formal role as the head of the nation. The sovereign acts as a focus of national identity, the unity, the pride. It gives a sense of stability and continuity. Okay, so officially, it recognizes the success and the excellence and the supports of the ideal of voluntary services. Okay, so madaming types. There is two types of a monarchy. Okay, so if you have probably heard the kings and the queens, the concept of the monarch goes back to the time of the pharaohs in Egypt. Okay, so however, what you might not realize is the kings and the queens are the rulers of a monarchy. Okay, so a monarchy is a type of government where a family or a group rules of the country or area. They are the head of state when it comes to realize the rulers, or when it comes to realize the something that is quite not favorable to the country, those in the country. Okay, so a monarchy is there is two types of monarchy, yung hereditary monarchs and the elective monarchs. Okay, so title is handed down through the bloodiness, ang hereditary monarchs. Okay, so for example, if a king dies or abdicates the throne, it is passed down to their oldest child. Okay, however, in the event there isn't a child, it might be going to the brother or a cousin. So may dynasty. Okay, so bloodiness, may dynasty siya, ang hereditary monarchs. Okay, so ang elective monarchs naman, title is passed down to an elected official by a small elite of group. For example, the College of the Cardinals elects the Pope as the sovereign of the Vatican. Okay, so meron din tayong tinatawag na absolute monarchy. Okay? So kung mapapansin nyo, if you have heard the saying, your wish is my command. Okay, so this exemplifies an absolute monarchy perfectly. So in this type of government, the powers of the monarch or the king or the queen are absolute. Their word is a law and their people have no say. Okay, so kung anong sinasabi ng king is yun na yung masusunod sa lahat. Okay, so kung sinabi ng king na patayin lahat ang Jews, papatayin yan. Okay, kung sinabi ng king na magbayad lahat kayo ng taxes, magbayad kayo ng taxes. Okay? Kasi yung word ng king is a law and their people have no to say. Okay? So an absolute monarch, its benefit is that the power is unlimited and inherited. It is supreme leader. Okay, the absolute monarchy was established in the 17th century. The king or the queen is the only one who can hold all the power and decisions. The citizens do not have freedom, had no rights to vote or to be part of the lawmaking or the elections of decisions. Okay, so ang mga people is parang walang kwenta. Okay, tanging ang mga mayayaman, ang mga elite lang, ang tanging nagbe-benefits sa lahat. Okay? What if then yung king he makes laws just for his personal interest, just for his businesses. Okay, so kung sino pa yung mga mayayaman, sila pa ang mas lalong yayaman. Okay, kung sino yung mga mahirap, sila ang mas lalong hihirap. Okay, so yun yung disadvantage ng absolute monarchy. So it is organized by nothing. It has no rules, no constitution, or legally organized opposition. Wala silang sinusundan. Okay, just kung anong sinasabi ng king or a queen is yun na talaga yung masusunod. Okay, so the best example of absolute monarchy is in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so while the government follows basic law of the Saudi Arabia, follows basic law of Saudi Arabia, it does not have a constitution. Okay, so the executive powers of the government are not hereditary, and the judicial and the legislative branches are appointed by royal decree. Okay, so anyone appointed by the monarch can also be dismissed by the monarch. Okay? So, meron din tayong tinatawag na constitutional monarchy. When I say constitutional monarchy, meron silang pina-follow na a set of laws and a set of rules. Okay? So, as the name suggests, a constitutional monarchy, it is also called a limited monarchy. It has a written or implied constitution or a central government body like a parliament. Okay? So, to see a constitutional monarchy in action, look no farther than Sweden. Okay, the current monarch of Sweden is si Carl Gustaf, the 74th king of Sweden. Okay, he is the state head, but there is a special cabinet making the rules and the law. Okay, so another example of constitutional monarchy is in Great Britain. Queen Elizabeth is a ceremonial figurehead. Okay, the government is ruled by Parliament, and the Parliament and the Prime Minister hold the power to decide and make the laws. Okay, so what are the problems with the monarchy? Okay, so the problems often arise in the monarchy because the kings and the queens inherit. Okay, so rather than earn their thrones. Okay, so pinapasa-pasa lang yan. Saka lang maipasa ang trono is kapag namatay na yung king and queen or queen. Okay? So kung buhay pa yan ng 230 years old is maghihintay kayo. Okay? So kung pangit ang pamumuno ng isang king is magsasuffer kayo. Okay? So in a democracy, leaders are elected by the people and must be accountable for their actions or they won't get re-elected. Yun yung pagkakaiba ng democracy sa monarchy. Okay, so democracy kasi, they favor the what people decision. Okay, so kasi ang monarch naman, it remains in the office until he or she dies. Or until ma-impeach siya. Okay, is until ma-impeach siya or unable to lead the people. Okay, so yun yung pagkakaiba ng democracy and the monarchy. Okay, so madaling salita, ang monarchy is walang karapatan ang mga taong bayan na makialam sa mga batas or sa batas, okay? At mag-elect ng mga kanilang mga leaders. Sa democracy naman, they favor the welfare of the citizens and the decisions of the citizens. Kasi sa democracy kasi, tayo ang nag-e-elect ng mga leaders natin and we have the right to initiate the laws, to referend the laws, okay, to ratify the laws, okay, and also to impeach, okay, some leaders. Okay, so one of the example is yung monarchy is that presently rules of Great Britain and the head of the state was the Queen Elizabeth II. Okay, so next we have the oligarchy. So oligarchy is a term for a government in which power is held by a select few individuals or a small class of a powerful people. Okay, so yung mga nagro-role dito is few individuals, pero yung mga powerful people. Okay, so the rule of a few whose chief objective is not good of the citizens but their own financial and honorific advancement. Okay, so there is always a personal interest. Okay, so kung mayaman ka, is makakaroon ka ng position sa government. Pero kung mahirap ka, wala. Mas lalo kang hihirap dito sa oligarchy. Okay, so what if ang oligarchy din, they propose laws, okay? In terms of yung laws na inlined or aligned doon sa mga businesses nila. Okay, so mas lalong nagfo-foster yung businesses ng mga mayayaman, unlike sa mga mahihirap. Okay, so what if ang Pilipinas hindi direct democracy? Oligarchy tayo, ang form of government natin. Okay, so sa Pilipinas, uso kasi dito yung retailer. Okay, yung maraming mga maliliit ng businesses dito. Okay, so what if si Duterte nag-propose siya ng law na kailangan tangkilikin ang produkto na binebenta ng business niya. Okay, so halimbawa yung product ng gano'n niya is sabon. Okay, so kinakailangan ang pinopose ni Duterte is kinakailangan lahat ng mga Pilipino is ito lang na gagamitin na sabon. Okay, so kawawa yung mga maliliit na businesses. Okay, hindi sila mas lalong makapag-uplift, okay, to their sa poverty, dun sa mediocrity of their life. Okay, so yun yung disadvantage ng oligarchy. Okay, so kung wala kang kakayahan to voice out your emotions, okay, your disagreement dun sa what the leaders, okay, walang mangyayari sa'yo. Okay, so the concept of oligarchy is somewhat elusive. Okay, rarely does not a society openly define itself as an oligarchy. So generally, the word carries a negative connotations. Okay, so it conjures notions of corruption, corrupt group whose members make an unfair policy decisions in order to maintain their privileged positions. Okay, so palaging iniisip ng leaders na I will make laws just for myself, just the benefits of myself. Okay, so kung andito na ako sa posisyon na to, gagawin ko na ang lahat para lang mas lalo akong yumaman. Okay, kasi privileged tong position ko. They did not only think for the benefits of its citizens. Okay, nagkakaroon ng inequality, nagkakaroon ng injustice, unfair sila. Diba? So kung sa other mga forms of government, mas lalong pinapabor nila ang equity. Okay? Meron kasi tayong tinatawag na less fortunate and the fortunate. Dun sa equity kasi is tutulungan mo yung less fortunate para maging fortunate sila. Okay? Para magkaroon ng balance. Ang equality kasi is tutulungan mo yung both. Okay? Yung less fortunate and a fortunate. Yun yung pagkakaiba ng equality and equity. Okay? So, oligarchies existed over the history. Okay? Until today, many consider yung mga forms of government nila. Sa Russia, an example of oligarchic political structure. After the fall of communism, groups of businesses owners captured control of these nations and exploit the natural resources and abuse the opportunity to expand their wealth and political influences. Okay? So yun yung disadvantages din ng mga oligarchies. Okay? So, if you want, pwede naman kayong maging oligarchy in your life. Diba? Mag-set kayo ng mga formed as a way to meet your goals. Okay? So, ito na tayo. Dito na tayo sa next is the democracy. So, kung ang democracy is a form of government that strives to provide all citizens with an equal voice or vote in determining the state policy regardless of their level of socio-economic status. Okay? So, another important fundamental of democratic state is that establishment and the governance of a just and comprehensive constitution that delineates the roles and responsibilities of leaders and citizens. Okay? So, sa direct democracy, the people, the citizens have the voice. Have the voice to elect the leaders, have the voice to make the laws, have the voice to impeach the leaders, okay, to initiate laws. Okay, so democracies in general ensure a certain basic rights for their citizens. First and foremost, the citizens are free to organize political parties and hold elections. Okay, so kung mapapansin nyo, ang Pilipinas ay madaming mga NGOs, the non-governmental organization. Okay, halimbawa na lang is Magna Carta for Women, VAUSI, mga ganyan. Okay, Bantay Bata 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Rapu Tulfo Tulong, mga ganyan. Okay, so leaders once elected, it must abide by the terms of given the nation's constitution and are limited in the powers they can exercise as well as in the length of the duration of their terms. Okay, so sa Pilipinas kasi, we base our rights, we base our actions in our constitutions. Okay, doon lahat, binibase natin lahat. Okay, so sa paggawa ng law is kinakailangan nakabase doon sa constitution. Okay, so what if yung law mo is natatapakan niya or parang opposive siya doon sa naisulat doon sa constitution, is walang mangyayari. Okay? So yun yung sa direct democracy. Okay? So, kinakailangan maging responsable tayo as a citizens to vote wisely, okay, in order for us to have a good leaders na mag-govern dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Kasi minsan kasi sa atin tayong mga Pilipino, once na binigyan lang tayo ng 1/5, ay kapalit na ng ating mga boto. Okay, so we cannot reason out bakit may mga nagrarally, bakit may nagagalit sa pamumuno ng isang leader. It is because in your negligence as a voter and as a citizens of the Philippines. Diba? Nasa sa atin na yung power pero hindi pa natin ginagampanan ang ating mga powers. So, what type of government do we have in the Philippines? Okay, so the Philippines is a republic with a presidential form of government wherein the power is equally divided among its three branches, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. If we try to compare in monarchy, the head of the state is si king or si queen, and the head of the nation is si prime minister. Okay, pero sa Pilipinas, ang the head of the state and the head of the nation is si president lang. Okay, so dito rin yung sa three branches is meron din tayong check and balances. When I say check and balances, we are given the rights, okay, but we cannot overpower the other departments, the other branches of the government. Okay, just like for an example, kung si legislative branch is nagsabatas siya or nag-initiate siya ng laws. Okay? So kinakailangan is they have the rights to initiate the laws but they don't have the right to propose the bill into law. Okay? So yun na yun yung dadaan siya sa executive. Okay? So si executive titingnan niya, okay, magkakaroon ng first reading, second reading, mga ganyan, titingnan niya yung effectivity ng law na initiate ng legislative. And after that, si judicial naman, is titingnan niya, it is on how they scrutinize the proposed bill. Okay, so titingnan nyo, yung three branches have different rights and roles. Okay, so hindi kinakailangan na si legislative ay may karapatan siya mag-initiate na law at may karapatan din siyang mag-sign or mag-propose ng bill into law. Hindi ganun. Okay? President functioned as both as the head of state and the head of the government or the head of the nations of the country within the pluriform multi-party system. Okay? So, dito is, let me just explain yung sa legislative, executive, and the judicial. Okay? So, ang legislative, it is authorized to make laws, alter laws, and repeal them through the power vested in the Philippine Congress. Okay? So, in this institution, it is divided into two, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Okay? So, ang Senate, it is on the upper house, and the House of Representatives, it is in the lower house. Okay, so the legislative branch enacts the legislation, confirms or rejects presidential appointment, and has the right to authority to declare the war. Okay, kahit na si President ang Chief Justice ano tawag na dito, kahit si President ang head ng sa militar is wala siyang karapatan na mag-declare siya ng war. Okay? Mag-i-initiate lang siya na magde-declare siya ng war, but the Congress have the power, has the authority to declare the war. Okay? So these branches includes the Congress, okay, yung the Senate, at saka yung the House of Representatives na sinasabi ko, and the several agencies that provide the support services to the Congress. Okay, so the Senate is composed of 24 senators who are elected at large and by qualified voters of the Philippines. Okay, ang the House of Representatives, it is composed about 250 members elected from legislative districts in the provinces, in the cities, and the municipalities. Okay, so the representatives elected through a party list, okay, system or registered national, okay, regional or sectoral parties or organizations. Okay, so ang mga legislative power, yung mga national government, we have the Senate and the House of Representatives. In local government naman, meron tayong Bangsamoro Parliament, Sangguniang Panlalawigan, Sangguniang Panlungsod, Sangguniang Bayan, Sangguniang Barangay. Okay, so sa executive branch naman, it is composed of the President and the Vice President who are elected by direct popular vote and serve a term of 6 years. Okay, pag sinabi kong direct popular vote, is yung mga tao ang bumoto sa President and the Vice President. Okay, so the Constitution grants the President authority to appoint his cabinet. So okay, these departments form a large portion of the country's bureaucracy. Okay, so paano kapag namatay si President, sino mag-a-act as a President? Okay, so kung namatay si President, ang magiging President ay si Vice President. Okay, so kung namatay si Vice President, sino mag-a-act as a President? The Senate President. Okay, so kung namatay si Senate President, is magkakaroon na ulit ng re-election. Okay? So, ganun lang yun. So, what if bakit si Gloria Aquino, di ba? Si Erap Estrada is hindi siya na-impeach. Okay? Si Joseph Estrada is hindi siya na-impeach. Okay? Mai-impeach sana siya, kaso inunahan na niya. Okay? So, nag-resign agad si Joseph Estrada, tapos yung nag-act as a president ay si Gloria Arroyo. Okay, so si Gloria Arroyo ay siya yung kauna-unahang presidente na nag-run ng more than 8 years of service sa presidency. Why? Pero kung 3 years and up na siya nag-serve as a president, hindi na siya pwedeng mag-run ulit as a president. Okay, so that time kasi is 2 years lang. ang tinapos niya. 2 years lang ang tatapusin niya doon sa mga years na hindi natapos ni Erap Estrada. Okay, so the president leads the country. Okay, he or she is the head of state, leader of the national government, and the commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the Philippines. Okay, the president serves a 6-year term and cannot be re-elected again. Okay, ang vice president is pwede siyang the president supports the president. Okay, if the president is unable to serve, the vice president becomes the president. He or she also serves a 6-year term. Ang cabinet members serve as advisors to the president. Okay, they include the vice president and the head of the executive department. Okay, cabinet members are nominated by the president and must be confirmed by the Commission of Appointments. Okay, yung Article 10, the Constitutional Commissions, yun na yung mga commissioners natin. Okay, so executive leadership, kapag sinabi nating national government, papasok na dyan si president, si vice president, and the cabinet secretaries. Ang local government naman is we have the regional chief minister, provincial governor, provincial vice governor, city and municipal mayor, city and municipal vice mayor, and the barangay chairman. Okay, so yun na yung mga under sa executive leadership. Sa judicial branch naman, it is the Supreme Court. Okay, which has a chief justice at its heads and the 14 associate justices, occupies the highest tier of the judiciary. So the role of the judicial branch, it has to scrutinize what the legislative and executive pass na law. Okay, sila na yung magsasabi kung there is an action. Okay, yung effectiveness ng law na yun. Okay, so the judicial branch, it holds the power to settle controversies involving the rights that are legally demandable and enforceable. Okay, so this branch determines whether or not there has been a grave abuse of the discretion among to lack or excess of the jurisdiction on the part and the instrumentality of the government. Okay, so it is made up of the Supreme Court and the lower courts. Okay, so other courts that under the judicial branch is the Court of Appeals, Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. Okay, so regular courts, we have the regional trial courts, first level courts, we have the Metropolitan Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts, Municipal Trial Courts in Cities, Municipal Circuit Trial Courts. Meron din tayong Sharia Courts, Sharia District Courts, and the Sharia Circuit Courts. Okay, so branch of governments can change acts of the other branches as follows. Okay, so the president can veto laws and passed by Congress. Okay, so the Congress confirms or rejects the president's appointments and can remove the president from office in exceptional circumstances. Okay, ang Congress is hindi sila impeachable. Okay, so the justice of the Supreme Court who can overturn unconstitutional laws are appointed by the president. Okay, so next is we have the aristocracy. Okay, so aristocracy, it was a government by a relatively small privileged class or by the minority consisting of those presumed to be the best qualified to rule. Okay, so aristocracy, it is a kind of government that puts power in the hands of a small and privileged ruling class. Okay, ang notion kasi ng aristocracy is kung eligible ka, okay, kung qualified ka, kung pinag-aralan mo yan, you have the qualifications to run the government. Yun ang gusto ng aristocracy. In order for us to have a beneficial, okay, para mas lalong mapaganda ang lugar. Okay, mas lalong mapaganda ang lugar. Okay, so bakit kaya sinasabi ni Aristotle na kinakailangan mga mayayaman ang mga mag-rule in order for that to... Bakit kailangan mayayaman ang mag-rule sa bansa? Bakit? Okay? Ang gustong sabihin ni Aristotle is in order for us na maiwasan ang corruption. Okay? Kung alam mong mayaman na, hindi na yan magnanakaw. Hindi na yan mangungurakot. Okay? Kundi mas lalong gagawa ng mga proyekto to govern its citizens. Okay? So, yun yung aristocracy. Okay? So, we have the polity. Polity is a politics or it is the organizational structure of the government of the state. Okay? So, polity or constitutional government means ruled by the masses of the citizens who compose the state. Okay, so the definition of polity is a political or government organization or a form of a church government. An example of polity is a local government group, the government of the nation, state, church, or organization. So polity, it is on how we govern the certain places. Okay? So ang polity ay yun na yung mga strategies, ang methods mo on how you govern the certain country. It is the process or the power of governing or the government or the administration. Okay, so just like for an example, si Duterte, yung one of their famous na proyekto niya is yung Build program. Okay? Kasi ang problema natin is yung traffic, unemployment rate, underemployment rate, di ba? Air pollution, and etc. Madami tayong problema dito sa Pilipinas. In order for us to certain or to lessen that problem, is kinakailangan natin tong proyekto, tong Build program. Okay? So kung ma-attain natin ang phase 3, is may iwasan natin ang traffic at may iwasan natin ang unemployment rate. Why? Because si Duterte, dun sa Build program niya, mag-a-under na dun yung mga infrastructures of roads, okay, widening of the roads, okay, pagtanggal ng mga obstructions, okay, ang mga obstruction sites sa mga daan, etc. And also with the unemployment rate, di ba magpapatayo ng mga schools, ang dami niyang mga hotels, and many more small businesses out of that law, dun sa train law. Okay, so next we have the tyranny. Tyranny occurs when the absolute power is granted to a ruler. Okay, so ang tyranny is a cruel and oppressive government or rule. An example of tyranny is someone putting someone in jail for years for a small crime. So there is a due process na doon. Okay, so the definition of tyranny is a government or ruler with a total power vested on a one person. Okay, so an example of tyranny is a country run by a cruel dictator. Okay, mga very oppressive na mga dictators. So, ang tyranny is nangyayari yan dito sa Pilipinas before. Okay, when the Spaniards invade the Philippines, nagkaroon ng mga tyranny dito. Okay? Mayroon tayong mga oppressive laws, mga repressive laws. Okay? Madaming mga namatay na Pilipino noon, madaming mga ginahan sa mga Pilipino. Okay? Madaming mga ginutom ng mga Pilipino. Okay? So, just like before, when the time of Americans colonization here in the Philippines, okay? Madaming mga oppressive law. Okay? Kung maalala nyo yung Brigandage Act, okay, yung Brigandage Act na yun is yung parang total lockdown, parang ganun. Okay? Dinala lahat ng mga Pilipino sa isang area para mas mapadali nilang ma-impose ang kanilang laws. Okay? Para mas lalong matigil yung mga rebellions. Okay? Mga rebellions na against sa government of Americans. Okay, so in that time, nung dinala sila sa one place, nagutom sila, nagkaroon ng starvation, nagkaroon ng mga disease, nagkasakit ang mga Pilipino natin, at namatay. Okay, so in short, pinabayaan ng mga Pilipino noon. Which is, kung bakit pumunta mga Pilipino doon, is nangako ang mga Amerikano na bibigyan sila ng sapat na pagkain, sapat na pangangalaga. Diba? So, world famous notorious tyrants is, kung maalala nyo rin, is si Maximilian Robespierre. Okay, so the incorruptible face of the reign of terror. Pero si Maximilian Robespierre, nag-guillotine siya. Kung maalala niyo, guillotine is yung pagtanggal sa ulo. Okay, si Maximilian Robespierre kasi isa siyang traidor. Okay, traidor. Kahit ang totoong kaibigan niya is ipinapatay niya just for his personal interest. O, di ba? Si Adolf Hitler naman, one of the famous notorious tyrants because of the Holocaust. Okay, madami siyang pinatay na mga Jews. Millions of Jews. Okay, so that time kasi si Adolf Hitler, sabi niya noon is walang magpapapasok ng mga Jews sa kanilang mga bansa. Pero tanging ang mga Pilipinas lang ang nag-open ng eroplano just to help the Jews. Okay, kaya laking tulong or maging laking utang na loob ng mga Jews sa atin dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Si Pol Pot naman is the brother number 1. Bakit siya tinawag na brother number 1? Did you know na millions of people living in Cambodia were killed during the brutal of the regime of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. Okay, their bodies were buried in the mass graves that became known as the killing fields. Okay, so the phrase later became the title of the movie about the horrors of the Khmer Rouge era. Okay, the killing fields. Millions of mga Cambodians ang pinatay nila Pol Pot. Diba? Imagine? Mas madami si Pol Pot, mas madami siyang napatay kaysa kay Adolf Hitler sa Jews. Okay? So next is the government and the principle of moderation. Dito naman, it is the principle of moderation must be observed in all phases of the state. It must be moderate in size and population. Dito naman kasi is kinakailangan dapat equal lahat ng products na i-import, lahat ng products na i-export, mga ganyan. Okay? Kasi pag sinabi dating moderation activities, it includes the pre-assessment, interactions with assessors, I should say. So, interactions during assessment and post-assessment interactions. So, moderation, it is also the principle of life. Okay? So, doing something in moderation means not doing it excessively. Okay? So, for instance, someone who moderates their food consumption tries to eat all food groups. Okay? But limits their intake of those may cause deleterious effects to harmless levels. Okay, so yun yung gusto ng principle of moderation. Na yung sinasabi niya is kinakailangan kung nagdo-dominate na ang mga middle class, okay? Kinakailangan tulungan natin yung mga lower class. Okay? So, ganun ang gusto niya. Kinakailangan, may equity. The principle of moderation is may equity. Kung alam na nilang yumayaman ang mga mayayaman at kung alam na nilang humihirap ang mga hihirap, ang tutulungan nila is yung mga mahihirap para makapag-uplift sila sa poverty. Okay? Para makalaya sila sa starvation, nagsasuffer sila sa poverty, mga ganyan. Okay? So, principle of moderation. Yun yung gustong sabihin nito. Ano pa? Ano pang gustong sabihin ng principle of moderation in terms of may equality, okay, may equity, may justice, at may freedom. Okay? Lahat ay pantay-pantay na treatment. Okay? So, they avoid social stratification. Okay? Hindi nila pinapabor ang social stratification. Next is Aristotle excluded the classes. When I say excluded the classes, is they excluded the social stratification. Okay, so women and children slaves are excluded from government because they are considered the inferior. Okay, so Aristotle regarded slavery as a natural and therefore condoned it. Although he did not justify the practice of seizing slaves by conquest, he regarded the slave as an individual who by natural disposition lacking intellectual acumen and prefers to obey rather than to command, to follow rather than to think for himself. Okay? So, ay doble. Children should be provided with a proper education in virtue. Okay, si Aristotle kasi, he always value education. Okay? Parang si Rizal lang din to si Aristotle. Kasi, ang sinasabi niya is ang kabataan ay pag-asa rin ng bayan. So, they are our brighter future. Okay? In order for them to be responsible citizens, okay, whose concern will be for the common good rather than for egoistic interest. Okay? So next is we have the virtue as a rational activity. Okay? So the function of man's highest nature is rational soul. Pag sinabi kong rational soul is yung they have the natural human reason. Okay? Nakakapag-isip tayo, mga ganyan. Okay, so only the rational principle is a particular to human beings, okay, about to human life, in order to be happy, okay, must believe in accordance with reason. Okay? So, ano pa? Rational dictates in the sense that its power natures behave in conformity to reason. Okay? So, yung sinasabi ni Aristotle is yung virtue is the pursuit of happiness. Okay? So, happiness for Aristotle is an activity of human soul in accordance with excellence, and it's manifested over the entire lifetime. Okay?